You go to a Donald Trump construction site in the United States, you're not seeing a bunch of illegals running around on the rafters, putting up an inferior building. Yeah. Look, I know of a company in Massachusetts right now who hires illegals. They know they hire illegals, but they donate to some of the big Democratic liberals in Massachusetts, so it's okay. Look, there's a gentleman in this company who has been caught and deported twice before, and he's back working for the same company again. They know he's an illegal. So don't tell me about Donald Trump, some of his subcontractors or contractors out there possibly hiring an illegal when you've got liberal Democratic donors owning companies here in the state of Massachusetts who are knowingly hiring illegals, not once, but thrice. The guy's been deported twice. How the hell does he keep coming back? And actually, I think there's a disgruntled employee that's about to take that company to court over just such a thing. So I'm not mentioning any names, the name of the company or anything, because there could be some legal litigation that comes about pretty soon. So that's got to work its way through the courts, and naturally, I'm not going to get dragged into that. So, names until that stuff hits the press and hits the papers, I'm not going to mention any names. But there might be somebody listening who knows exactly who I'm talking about, and that's fine. But I understand through the grapevine that some legal action could be coming down the pipes for this, and it could be, I don't know, it could be and it's nothing that this company can now hide. So even if there was a raid on their human resources department tomorrow, they couldn't hide all of this. It is what it is. But to go after the Donald, how many times have we had? It's on both sides. But how many times have you had, especially these big liberal Democrats being caught, rich Democrats being caught with an illegal housekeeper? That was the big, was it in the 90s? Remember that? Wasn't that the big thing? Somebody trying to catch somebody with an illegal immigrant who's working as a housekeeper or a groundsperson, gardener or pool boy or something, right? Under their private, didn't they try to pin that on a Mitt Romney once? Yeah, Mitt Romney employed an illegal immigrant, legal alien as a housekeeper in one of his houses. I think they tried to pin that on him once too. I mean, really? So this is what they have. This is what they have against the Donald. Trump Tower, man. No, Donald Trump employed. No, Donald Trump did not employ. But they were working on it. Well, yeah, and there are a lot of companies that do the same thing. If the Donald knowingly had some illegal aliens, then his company should pay the penalty for it. I'm not dismissing that in one way or another, but basically what he said was absolutely true about open borders. And we see what happens when that guy out in San Francisco who killed an American citizen, a female. These sanctuary these sanctuary. You have a. What is really kind of freakish. Now, let's just take a step back for a second. I want you folks to think about something here. You have these municipalities that call themselves sanctuary cities, or sanctuary towns, or sanctuary counties, whatever, sanctuary areas. San Francisco is one. Now, this flies in the face directly against federal law. Against federal law. Now, let's just take, is it Oklahoma? Let's take Oklahoma for a second. You've got I think it's the governor of Oklahoma is saying, well, I'm going to defy the Oklahoma Supreme Court judge who says that we got to take down the 10 Commandments from government property. We're not doing it yet. We're gonna wait until this whole appeal process is over. We're not doing, because the judge saying it's got to come down now, and the governor saying we're not touching it. Now, This governor is being lambasted louder and harder for defying a judge about a statue that lists the 10 commandments of some. Just read the 10 commandments. Some of the 10 commandments: "Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not lie." Basically, George Carlin, rest his soul, once said, "You can't have the 10 commandments hanging in a courtroom or on government property, because it's thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie, all this stuff. It creates a hostile work environment for judges and lawyers." So, that's why George Carlin says all that stuff has to be removed. But understand that Oklahoma and the governor is being hit harder than the sanctuary cities are for defying the federal immigration laws that have led directly to and indirectly to the death of an American citizen. And she's not the only one. I know Sean Hannity was trying to talk to a few people, but there are numerous Americans that have died at the hands of illegal immigrants that should still be alive today if we only paid attention to our own immigration laws and clamped down our borders. They'd still be alive. Most of them would still be alive. Hey, defying a judge's unconstitutional order to take down a monument on government property over a trumped-up charge, that's more important than dealing with the reality of American citizens dying at the hands of illegal people illegally crossing into this country who could have been stopped. That's the sad part. They all could have been stopped, or most of them could have been stopped. So most of the people that they harmed and killed or raped or robbed or kidnapped, or God knows what else they've done to them, they wouldn't have had that happen to them if our government and these stupid sanctuary cities would have only followed the law. The law that's on the books that has no interpretation that's needed. It's not as if the laws on immigration in this country need a judge to interpret it. You don't. They're pretty straightforward and pretty plain and pretty clear. And all of these sanctuary areas are openly defying the law. So I don't want to hear, until you clamp down in every single one of these 300 plus sanctuary city areas, I don't want to hear anything about the Oklahoma governor saying we're going to wait for all of this to go through all the courts, Supreme Court and all that kind of stuff. We're going to wait for that. Because you don't have a leg to stand on. Because what happens, because here's the whole thing. I know this is why they're doing it this way. This judge is doing it. You got to take it down now. Because what happens if Oklahoma appeals, goes through all the appeal process, and then, say, it gets to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court says, no, I can stay. Well, now they got to put it back up. It's going to cost money, so it probably won't go back up. So this governor's smart. No, we're going to wait. We have a right to appeal, and we're appealing it, so it's going to wait. Well, no, you got to do it. No, you don't. It's on appeal. It's kind of like, in most cases, if somebody gets convicted of a serious crime, they go to jail. If there's an appeal, they're going to stay in jail. But however, if a person is not in jail and they're appealing something, then you can't throw them in jail. If they're allowed to stay out through an appeal process for whatever reason, you just can't all of a sudden, no, go to jail. No. There's an appeal. And, if I lose the appeal, then I go to jail, but not before then. Because how do you get something back that should have not been taken from you? You can't. You can't. I don't. This is just, to me, this is just logic 101, folks. Now, I fully understand to some people it's not as evident. But for me, it's purely logic 101. It's not complicated. It's not difficult to understand. You just have to use your brain instead of your heart to think with. The heart leads to emotion. The brain leads to logic. Logic will always win out over emotion. And, well, what about, more, emotion gets you going. Yeah, but, well, let's take that for a second. Sure, you can be moved emotionally, and you can have anger and excitement, all that kind of stuff. And, you've been motivated to go and do your best to fight for your country. But in the end, the brain is going to dictate how you fight. Because if you just run out there emotionally like you're going to charge, you're going to get killed. But if you take that emotion and you say, yeah, we're going to win, how are we going to do it? Well, then the logic brain takes over and says, okay, we got to have a plan. We got to have a war plan. That's how you win. You don't win by charging out there willy-nilly with no plan. You'll just get knocked down quicker than you can say knocked down. You can get the adrenaline going all you want to, but unless you have a battle plan, which comes from the brain, which comes from logic, you're dead, literally and figuratively. So this is the whole notion with where I come. Hey, I can get impassioned. I can be emotional. I can, get all hyped up. But when it comes down to brass tacks and the rubber meets the road, I put my brain in charge. Okay, hey, Mr. Brain, Mr. Logic, if you want to say Spock, go ahead. I don't care. But what is the logic of this situation? The logic of this situation is this. That's how you have to proceed. And, this is how, well, I guess if you have a mental disorder, you cannot see logic. Because your mental disorder prevents you from seeing. I gotta tell you, he's right. Liberalism is a mental disorder. I can, you try talking to a true diehard liberal, and I'm scratching my head because I literally look at them and think, somebody cannot really be that dumb. It's kind of like The Emperor's New Groove, right? When the Lama, when Cusco is looking at Yzma, and he's wondering because she's so old to him. He's like wondering what is keeping that woman together. She's so old, she should just be melting away. He's wondering I kind of look at these liberals with the same type of thought process, and I'm thinking, how can they be that dumb and still function? Because it's to the point where liberalism is more than just a mental disorder. It's dumbfounding. I mean, I guess you could to a point you could say, well, it's kind of mongoloid idiocy. But that would be a disgrace and disparagement to people who actually have that disease, that mental illness and disability. But that's basically what it is. Really, I mean, you can't. Yeah, I can't explain it. There is no logical explanation whatsoever for liberals to be liberals. There is none. I know that there are people out there that have tried to explain it. There is no logical explanation for it because none of it makes it. I do not. How do you explain that by taxing the rich more? How does that improve the life of a poor person? It doesn't. It never has and never will. So why do we keep going there? If you keep trying the same thing over and over again, and every single time you try it, it fails, why do you keep trying? Because that's insanity. That's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and over again, but each time you do it, you expect a different result. That's the true definition of insanity. So yes, these liberals keep doing the same thing over and over again. They are insane. So yes, I would have to agree. It is nothing but a mental disorder.